Every student on UMB Hill liked Christmas a lot, but the Bruns, who lived in sub-room 35, well, he just did not. The Bruns hated Christmas the whole exam season. Now you're gonna ask why. Well, here's the damn reason. He stands there before exams, hating the students, staring down from his perch with a Brunsy impudence. For he knew every student on the hilly side was busy now studying and cramming in stride. They're on their computers, he snarled with a smirk, studying non-stop. They're all practically jerks. Then he growled with his Bruns fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to stop exams from coming. For tomorrow he knew all the UMB population would be studying non-stop for the Christmas duration. And then, there's no noise. Oh, the noise, the noise, the noise, the noise. That's the one thing he loved the most, was the noise. The exams would take the students away from their games. The Bruns would be lonely for all winter days. And they'd study and they'd study and they'd study some more. They'd study their midterms, they'd study their text, they'd study their journals, critiques, and pre-tests. Which was something the Bruns couldn't stand in the least. He wanted to party, he wanted to feast. And the more the Bruns thought of this part, he grew pissed. The more the Bruns thought, I must indeed stop this. Why, for too long I've put up with this now. I must stop these exams from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. Let's be honest, a pretty awful idea. The Bruns got a pretty awful idea, but let's go with it. I know just what to do, the Bruns laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Brunsican hat and a coat. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks. I will take all their studying materials and their thinking caps. That one's a little rough, it's been a long week. This is stop number one, the old Brunsy Claus hissed, and he creeped to the door, empty bags in his fist. Then he used his credit card to break in with his funds. If robbers could do it, then so could the Bruns. He got stuck only once for a moment or two, then he opened the door the full way through. Where there sat all computer equipment in a row. These, he grinned, will be the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with the most unpleasant smile. Around the whole room he took the items in style. Textbooks and clipboards, cue cards, phones, laptops, three-ringed binders, duotangs, and poems. And he stuffed them in bags, and the Bruns with a roar shoved all the bags one by one out the door. Then he spotted the tree sitting with its leisurely pleasure. And now, grinned the Bruns, I'll ditch the tree for good measure. And he grabbed the tree even though it didn't really have anything to do with exams. He essentially did it for a good measure. Then he did the same thing to all the dorms and houses, taking every single one of their studying materials. Wowzers. As the hilly side began to awaken, the Bruns waited for the noise and anticipation. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. They'll be so happy that exams are all through. That's a noise, grinned the Bruns, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Bruns put his hand to his ear. But he did not hear a sound of rejoicing. In fact, there were no people at all that were voicing their opinions. What had the Bruns done wrong? They had nothing to study. That's when the Bruns realized something quite funny. Maybe exams, he thought, doesn't come from a book. Maybe exams, perhaps, deserves a second look. And what happened then? Well, at UMB they say that the Bruns' understanding of education grew 3 sizes that day. The moral of the story is, despite your best efforts, exams are still going to kick you in the butt. And if some weird guy steals all your studying material, well, you're just going to have to find a way to study anyway. Or a strike will happen, and no exams at all. Merry Christmas.